Your heart is a liability. It's a traitor living inside your chest, whispering terrible advice that sounds like wisdom. They told you to follow it. They told you that passion drives greatness, that feeling deeply makes you human, that emotional authenticity is the path to success. They were wrong about all of it. Look at the wreckage of your own life right now. Every catastrophic decision you've made, every message you sent at 2 a.m. that you regret, every opportunity that slipped through your fingers because you were paralyzed by fear or drunk on excitement. What connected all of those moments? What was the common thread running through every failure? Emotion. You felt something. And because you felt it, you acted on it. And because you acted on it, you lost. The world doesn't belong to the passionate. It belongs to the cold. It belongs to the surgical minds who can stare directly at disaster and feel absolutely nothing except the mechanical urge to calculate the next move. 500 years ago, Niccolò Machiavelli understood this with perfect clarity. He wasn't writing about following your heart or finding your passion. He was writing about virtù, which doesn't mean virtue in any moral sense. It means strategic prowess, raw capability, the kind of mental strength that allows you to see reality without the distortion of feeling. Machiavelli spent his life studying power, not the fantasy version we're sold in motivational content, but actual power as it exists in the real world. And he discovered something that civilized society has been trying to drug you out of knowing ever since. The person who cares the least controls the most. The person who can sever the connection between external reality and internal emotional response becomes untouchable. This is what I call entering the zero state. It's not numbness, it's not depression, it's clarity without the interference pattern of feeling. Most people live their entire lives at a fever pitch, swinging wildly between emotional extremes. Happy to sad, confident to terrified, excited to disappointed. Their leaves caught in a hurricane, completely at the mercy of external circumstances. But you're going to learn how to become the eye of the storm itself. The zero state is where emotional mastery becomes practical power. It's the mental space where you observe your emotions without being controlled by them. Think of it as operating from a watchtower above the battlefield. You can see the armies of fear, anger, and desire clashing below. But you're not in the trenches being cut down. You're above it, making strategic decisions based on terrain and positioning, not on how you feel about the combat. This level of emotional detachment isn't something you're born with. It's built through deliberate practice. Every time you feel an impulse to react emotionally, and you pause instead, you're building that watchtower higher. Every time you choose strategic thinking over emotional response, you're strengthening the muscle of self-control. Machiavelli didn't write about men who were naturally cold. He wrote about men who learned to separate their internal emotional weather from their external strategic moves. This isn't self-improvement in any conventional sense. This is tactical, emotional detachment. I'm going to teach you how to amputate the part of yourself that bleeds when it shouldn't. And I need you to understand something before we go further. This is not for the weak. This is not for people who want to manage their anxiety or feel a little better about themselves. This is for people who are ready to stop feeling and start conquering. If you're ready, then you need to understand exactly what you're fighting against. You are fighting your own biology. Your brain didn't evolve to make you a master of emotional control. Evolution had zero interest in your strategic thinking ability or your capacity for self-improvement. It designed you for one thing only: survival in a small tribal group on an African savanna 50,000 years ago. Your emotions are outdated software running on hardware that was never meant to handle modern complexity. Fear was useful when it stopped you from being eaten by a predator. That same fear now stops you from starting the business that could change your life. It stops you from walking away from the toxic relationship that's draining your mental strength. It stops you from taking the calculated risks that separate winners from everyone else. The software is glitching catastrophically. It's firing 5 alarm warnings in a safe room because it can't tell the difference between actual danger and mere discomfort. Here's what happens in your brain when strong emotion hits. Your amygdala, the ancient fear center, floods your system with stress hormones. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic and long-term planning, literally shuts down. Blood flow decreases. Neural activity drops. You become stupider in real time. You stop being a strategic thinker and become a reactive animal responding to immediate stimulus. This isn't speculation. This is neuroscience. When you're angry, afraid, or desperately wanting something, you are cognitively impaired. Your IQ effectively drops. You make decisions that your calm self would recognize as catastrophically stupid. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries before we had brain imaging technology. He watched princes who ruled by emotion lose their kingdoms. He watched passionate men get manipulated by cooler minds. He wrote that men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that anyone who deceives will always find those willing to be deceived. What he's saying is that emotional people are simple. They react to present necessities like pain, hunger, desire, and fear. And because they react predictably, they're easy to manipulate. If someone can make you angry, they own you. If they can make you crave their validation, they own you. If they can trigger your guilt or your fear, they own you completely. The first step toward emotional mastery isn't learning to manage your feelings. It's learning to see them for what they actually are. Not truth, not valid signals, just noise. Biological noise from an outdated system trying to protect you from threats that no longer exist. Think of yourself as a pilot flying through a storm. Your instruments are screaming at you. Alarms are going off. Every system is telling you to pull up, that you're about to crash. The amateur pilot panics. He trusts the instruments that are lying to him. He follows the emotional signal, and he crashes. The master pilot does something different. He ignores the noise. He looks at the horizon. He trusts his coordinates and his training. He feels nothing about the alarms, and he lands safely. You are that pilot. Your emotions are those broken instruments. The question is whether you're going to keep listening to them, or whether you're ready to develop the kind of emotional detachment that lets you see clearly while everyone else is panicking. This is where we leave the realm of popular self-improvement and enter something far more useful, the realm of actual power. You need to kill hope. I know that sounds wrong. You've been told your entire life that hope is beautiful, that it's what keeps us going, that giving up hope means giving up on life itself. Those are pretty lies. Hope is a beggar's strategy. Hope is what powerless people do when they have no other options. The person who hopes is waiting for the world to give them something. They're waiting for luck to smile on them. They're waiting for circumstances to improve. They're waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity, the right alignment of stars. And while they wait, life passes them by. Machiavelli wrote extensively about fortuna, which we translate as fortune or luck. But he didn't believe in waiting for good fortune. He believed that fortuna was like a wild river that would destroy everything in its path unless you built dams and channels to control it. He believed that fortune must be dominated, not hoped for. The difference between winners and losers isn't that winners have better luck. It's that winners refuse to leave outcomes to chance. Listen to how you talk to yourself. How often do you say, "I hope this works out"? How often do you say, "I hope they respond well"? How often do you say, I hope things get better. Every time you use that word, you're admitting powerlessness. You're admitting that you've placed your outcome in someone else's hands. The person with emotional mastery never hopes. They calculate, they plan, and they execute. Where you say, I hope this works, they say, I will engineer this so failure becomes impossible. Do you see the difference? One statement is passive. It's waiting for external forces to be kind. The other statement is aggressive. It's taking control of variables and forcing the outcome. This distinction separates the powerful from the powerless across every domain of life. In business, hoping the market improves versus engineering a business model that profits regardless of market conditions. In relationships, hoping someone will respect you versus commanding respect through how you carry yourself and what you will and won't tolerate. In personal development, hoping you'll feel motivated versus building systems that produce results even when motivation is absent. Hope keeps you reactive. Strategy makes you proactive. When you hope, you're essentially gambling that external circumstances will align in your favor. When you strategize with emotional detachment, you're stacking conditions so heavily in your favor that luck becomes nearly irrelevant. This is what Machiavelli meant about dominating Fortuna rather than being dominated by it. Think about the last crisis you faced. Maybe financial trouble, maybe a relationship falling apart. How much time did you spend hoping it would improve? How many nights did you spend visualizing better outcomes, praying, wishing, wanting things to be different? And what actually happened? Nothing changed until you stopped hoping and started acting coldly. The relationship only ended when you looked at it with emotional detachment and recognized the rot. The financial situation only improved when you examined the numbers without feeling and made brutal cuts. Action cured the problem. Hope simply prolonged your suffering. You must replace hope with calculation. When you face uncertainty, don't fantasize about victory or dread defeat. Simply look at the situation like a chessboard. Identify your pieces. Identify your opponent's pieces. Calculate the highest probability moves. Execute without attachment to outcome. If you lose a piece, you don't hope for a miracle to save you. You don't waste mental energy on regret. You simply look at the remaining pieces and calculate the next move. This is the zero state. It's a vacuum of expectation. When you expect nothing, you're ready for everything. When you hope for nothing, you can't be disappointed. All that remains is strategic thinking and execution. Machiavelli advised that a prudent man should follow in the footsteps of great men and imitate those who have been outstanding. Not their luck, but their methods. Great men throughout history didn't hope. They executed. They acted. They forced reality to bend rather than waiting for reality to be kind. Starting today, I want you to catch yourself every time you use the word hope. Stop mid-sentence. Rephrase it. Instead of, I hope I get the promotion, say, I will position myself so the promotion becomes inevitable. Instead of, I hope they respect me, say, I will act in ways that command respect. Instead of, I hope this works out, say, I will make this work. Kill the beggar inside you. Kill hope. What replaces it is something far more powerful. Certainty based on capability. The knowledge that whatever happens, you have the mental strength and strategic thinking to handle it. That's not hope. That's something closer to invincibility. If this opened your eyes, understand that publicly, I can only show you so much. There are aspects of dark psychology tactics that can't be discussed openly without suppression. Subscribe now to continue. We're going deeper now, and this is where you might start to feel uncomfortable. Good. Comfort is your enemy. Growth requires you to look at truths that civilized society has trained you to reject. You need to excise pity from your heart. I'm not talking about empathy, which is simply understanding what another person feels. I'm talking about pity, which is suffering because they're suffering. Pity is when you look at someone struggling and feel obligated to drown with them. Often, pity is just arrogance wearing a compassionate mask. You look down at someone and feel sorry for them, which puts you above them psychologically while making you feel noble. But in the game of power, in the pursuit of actual self-improvement, pity becomes a fatal weakness. It's a leak in the hull of your ship that will eventually sink you. Machiavelli studied this extensively. He examined men like Cesare Borgia, who brought order to a lawless, violent region through absolute ruthlessness. Borgia executed criminals publicly and terrified the population into submission. The result wasn't more suffering. It was peace, stability, and prosperity. Machiavelli's controversial conclusion was that cruelty well used is actually a form of mercy. By being decisively hard, you prevent the prolonged chaos that hurts everyone. How does this apply to your life right now? You have people around you who are drowning. Maybe they're in financial trouble. Maybe they're in toxic patterns they refuse to break. Maybe they keep coming to you with the same problems over and over, expecting you to save them. And what are you doing? You're lending them money you can't afford to lose. You're spending hours listening to the same complaints for the 100th time, with no change in their behavior. You're slowing down your own progress, your own goals, your own ascent, because you feel pity for them. Why? Because you feel guilty about winning while they're losing. Because you've been taught that being a good person means sacrificing yourself for others. Because walking away would make you feel like you're abandoning them. Stop. You cannot save everyone. This is crucial to understand. You cannot save people who don't want to be saved. And by trying to save those who are determined to drown, you often drag yourself down to their level instead of pulling them up to yours. This sounds savage, and it is. But look at nature without the filter of human sentimentality. Does the lion stop to pity the gazelle that's limping? Does the eagle compromise its flight to carry wounded birds? The ecosystem depends on the strong remaining strong. If predators weakened themselves out of pity, the entire system would collapse into chaos. If you're a leader, a parent, or a creator, you owe the world your strength, not your shared weakness, not your compromised capability. Your full power, deployed strategically toward actual solutions. When you feel pity rising in your chest, ask yourself this question with brutal honesty. Is this emotion actually helping them solve their problem? Or is it just making me feel good about being someone's savior? Usually, painfully, it's the latter. You're helping yourself feel noble more than you're helping them improve. Machiavelli's most famous piece of advice was that it's better to be feared than loved. His reasoning was simple. Love is held together by obligation, which selfish people break whenever it serves them. Fear is maintained by consequences that never fail. I'm not telling you to terrorize people. I'm telling you to stop letting your bleeding heart make decisions that destroy everyone involved. If you have an employee who's toxic to your team, fire them. Don't pity their mortgage. That mortgage is their responsibility to manage. If you keep them out of pity, you destroy team morale and productivity. That's your responsibility, and you're failing it. If you're in a relationship with someone who's abusive, leave. Don't pity their trauma. Don't pity their difficult childhood. Those things explain behavior, but they don't excuse it. Look only at the result of their actions, not the story behind them. This is the clarity of the surgeon. A surgeon cuts flesh to save the body. He doesn't cry over the blood. He doesn't hesitate because the patient experiences pain during the procedure. He focuses on the tumor. He removes it cleanly. Then he closes the wound and moves on. Be the surgeon of your own life. When something needs to be cut away, cut it away. Feel nothing for the temporary pain it causes. Look only at the health of the whole system. This is emotional detachment at its most practical. This is how you control emotions rather than letting emotions control you. This is how you develop real mental strength instead of the fake strength that comes from enabling dysfunction out of misplaced compassion. The path to winning everything requires you to be ruthlessly selective about where you deploy your finite resources, your time, your energy, your attention, your money. These are limited. Every moment you spend pitying someone who refuses to change is a moment stolen from your own transformation. There's a paradox in desire that most people never understand. The more you want something, the faster it runs away from you. You've seen this pattern repeatedly. The person who desperately needs the relationship never gets it. The salesperson who needs the commission radiates desperation, and clients can smell it from across the room. Wanting something too much creates tension, and tension creates mistakes. This is where we discuss weaponized apathy, the ability to look at a high-stakes situation and internally shrug. It matters objectively, but it doesn't matter to me personally. When you detach from outcomes, you paradoxically gain total control over the process. Think about the samurai walking into battle. The samurai has already accepted death. He considers himself dead before the first sword is drawn. If he's already dead, what does he have to fear? Nothing. And because he has no fear, his movements become perfect. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't hesitate. He strikes with absolute purity because he's not trying to protect something he might lose. You need to apply this dead man strategy to everything that matters to you. Walk into the negotiation truly willing to walk away. Not as a tactic or a bluff, but as a genuine state of emotional detachment. You're so solid in your own value that losing this particular deal means nothing to your sense of self-worth. Machiavelli wrote about the fox and the lion as two models of power. The lion uses raw force. The fox uses cunning and traps. But the emotional person is neither. The emotional person is the rabbit. When threatened, the rabbit runs. When cornered, the rabbit freezes. The rabbit is controlled entirely by fear. The person who has mastered how to be emotionless can be the fox. They can play the game without fear of losing their chips. They can bluff. They can wait. They can walk away because their identity isn't wrapped up in the outcome of any single interaction. Have you ever argued with someone who genuinely didn't care about winning the argument? It's one of the most frustrating experiences possible. You escalate. You raise your voice. You try to provoke them. You might even threaten them. And they just look at you with complete calm, waiting for you to finish. Then they ask, "Are you done?" They win. They win because your emotional storm crashed against their wall of nothing and simply dissolved. You exhausted yourself while they remained perfectly conserved. This is the power you're building toward. Not the absence of emotion, but the ability to observe emotion without being controlled by it. The next time you face a genuine crisis, try this specific protocol. Visualize the absolute worst-case scenario. Don't shy away from it. See it completely. See yourself losing the job, the relationship, the money, the status. Whatever you're afraid of losing, see it gone. Accept it fully. Make genuine peace with that outcome. Say to yourself, "I am already dead. I have already lost everything." Then open your eyes and handle the problem in front of you. What you'll discover is remarkable. Your hands stop shaking. Your voice drops half an octave and becomes more commanding. Your thinking becomes razor sharp and clear because you're no longer fighting to survive. You're simply playing the game, and the player always beats the victim. The player acts from strength. The victim reacts from fear. This is emotional mastery in its purest form. Not suppressing your fear, but accepting the worst outcome so completely that fear loses its power over you. When you truly accept that you might lose, you become free to play at the highest level. Paradoxically, this is when you're most likely to win. Consider how this applies to everyday situations where emotional control determines outcomes. You're in a salary negotiation. The old you walks in desperately needing the raise, and that desperation leaks out in your body language, your word choice, your willingness to accept less. The new you, practicing weaponized apathy, has already accepted walking away. You've calculated your market value. You've explored other options. You genuinely don't need this particular employer to validate your worth. That detachment completely changes the power dynamic. They can sense you're not desperate, which paradoxically makes them more likely to meet your terms. Or you're ending a toxic relationship. The old you is terrified of being alone, so you negotiate from weakness, accepting breadcrumbs and broken promises. The new you has already made peace with solitude. You've already accepted the worst case. That acceptance gives you the mental strength to state your boundaries clearly and walk away when they're violated. Often, this is exactly when the other person suddenly becomes willing to change, precisely because they sense you're no longer emotionally attached to the outcome. Let's address reality directly. You're human. You will feel pain. Machiavelli himself wasn't immune to suffering. He was tortured on the rack. He was exiled from the city he loved. He knew betrayal and loss intimately, but he didn't wallow in his pain. He intellectualized it. He transmuted it. He took his suffering and wrote The Prince, a book that has survived 500 years and fundamentally shaped how we understand power. That's alchemy. That's turning pain into something useful. When you feel negative emotion, whether it's anger, jealousy, grief, or betrayal, don't repress it. Repression leads to explosion. Stuffed emotions come out sideways in destructive ways. Instead, dissect the emotion. Treat it like data that your system is producing. Here's the process. You notice yourself feeling intense anger. Instead of acting on it or suppressing it, you pause. You say internally, I'm feeling anger right now. That's interesting. Why am I feeling this? You examine it. Because he disrespected me in front of others. Why does his disrespect trigger this reaction? You go deeper. Because I'm insecure about my status in this environment. I'm afraid others will see me as weak. And there it is. You've found the root. The anger isn't really about him. It's about your own insecurity. Once you see this clearly, something shifts. You've moved from feeling the anger to analyzing it. You've moved from your limbic system, the emotional brain, to your prefrontal cortex, the analytical brain. The moment you analyze an emotion, it ceases to be pure emotion and becomes a thought. And thoughts can be controlled, emotions cannot. This is the alchemical process I'm teaching you. This is practical emotional control. The average person gets angry and punches a wall, which accomplishes nothing except a broken hand and a hole in drywall. The person with strategic thinking gets angry and writes a detailed plan for neutralizing the threat. The average person gets sad and numbs themselves with alcohol or distractions. The person pursuing actual self-improvement gets sad and uses that pain as motivation to build systems that ensure they never feel that vulnerable again. Machiavelli wrote that fortune is the arbiter of half our actions, but she leaves us to direct the other half. Your emotions are like the weather. They're fortune. They're external circumstances you can't completely control. You can't stop yourself from feeling. You're not a robot, but you can build a roof against the rain. You can channel the water to power your mill. You can use the force of emotion rather than being used by it. Start using your anger as fuel. When someone wrongs you, don't waste that energy on revenge fantasies or complaining. Channel it into your work. Let it push you harder. Use your fear as a radar system for risk. Fear isn't useless. It's often pointing at something real, but instead of being paralyzed by fear, you examine what it's showing you and plan accordingly. Use your jealousy as a map. When you feel jealous of someone, you're receiving information. That person has something you want. Good. Now you know what to pursue. Your jealousy just gave you a target. The critical rule is this: never let emotions take the steering wheel of your life. You are the observer. You are the analyst. You are the architect. You feel things, yes, but you feel nothing personally in the sense that you don't identify with the feelings. You watch them like weather passing through. This is how you feel nothing while winning everything. Not by becoming dead inside, but by creating space between stimulus and response. In that space lives your power. In that space lives your freedom. In that space is where dark psychology tactics become useful tools rather than manipulation done to you. Here's a warning that might surprise you. If you walk through the world looking like a stone-cold statue, people will hate you. They might fear you, which has its uses, but they'll also plot against you. They'll work to undermine you. Human beings are social animals. We're wired to trust warmth and reject coldness. Show too much coldness and you become a target. So you need to learn the art of the mask. This is perhaps Machiavelli's most practical advice. He wrote that it's necessary to be a great pretender and dissembler. Inside, you maintain the zero state. You're cold, you're calculating, you're strategically detached. But outside, you must appear warm, charming, and engaged. This isn't hypocrisy. This is camouflage. This is survival. If you show the world your true coldness, society will try to destroy you. They'll call you a psychopath. They'll call you heartless. They'll ostracize you. So you give them what they want. You give them the performance. When your boss tells a terrible joke, you laugh. Not because it's funny. You laugh because laughing buys you favor, which you can convert into opportunities later. When your enemy tries to bait you into an emotional reaction, you smile. Not because you're happy. You smile because the smile hides your dagger while you calculate your real move. The separation between your internal state and your external display is the ultimate measure of self-control. Can you be burning with rage internally while speaking with a voice like velvet? Can you be terrified while maintaining the posture and eye contact of someone totally confident? If you can manage this split, you become unreadable. And if you're unreadable, you're extremely difficult to beat. Most people are open books. They wear their hearts on their sleeves, which is exactly why they're covered in scars. Everyone can see their weaknesses. Everyone knows what buttons to push. Everyone knows when they're afraid, or desperate, or hurt. You're going to be different. You're going to wear a mask. Keep your real heart locked in a safe that nobody accesses. Become a mirror to others. Reflect back what they want to see. Behind that mirror, you watch them. You study them. You learn their patterns while revealing none of your own. This is how you move through the world without friction. You look like a friend, so guards let you pass. You know the right words, so doors open. You show the right emotions at the right times, so people trust you. And once you're inside their defenses, once you're positioned where you need to be, that's when you make your real moves. The mask isn't about being fake. It's about recognizing that social reality operates on performance. Everyone is performing to some degree. You're just doing it consciously and strategically, while others do it unconsciously and poorly. This is emotional intelligence weaponized. This is how you control emotions in a social context while maintaining your internal emotional mastery. Practice this daily. Practice smiling when you feel nothing. Practice looking concerned when you're actually analyzing. Practice enthusiasm when you're calm. The better you get at controlling your external presentation, regardless of internal state, the more powerful you become. People will think they know you. They'll think they can read you. They'll be completely wrong. And that gap between what they think and what's real is where you win. Society has been lying to you about selfishness. They tell you it's a sin. They tell you to be selfless, to put others first, to sacrifice yourself for the greater good. Who's telling you this? Look closely. It's always the people who benefit from your sacrifice. The boss who wants free overtime calls it being a team player. The partner who refuses to grow calls it being supportive. The family member draining your resources calls it loyalty. They're harvesting you. They're using morality as a weapon to extract your value while giving nothing back. Machiavelli understood that a prince must be the center of his own universe, not from vanity, but from practical necessity. If the sun burns out, all the planets die. If you burn out from giving everything away, everyone who actually depends on you suffers worse than if you'd maintained your strength. You must adopt strategic narcissism. This doesn't mean you're delusional about your abilities. It means you recognize that you are your most valuable asset. Your energy, your time, your mental clarity. These are finite resources. They regenerate slowly. Every time you get emotionally entangled in someone else's drama, you're writing a check from your own account to pay for their poor decisions. Stop funding other people's dysfunction. You need to treat your energy like a fortress. The drawbridge is up by default. Only people who bring genuine value get in. If someone consistently disrespects you, don't feel hurt. Don't feel angry. Simply realize this person is a liability to your mission. Remove them from your life with surgical precision. This isn't cruelty. This is hygiene. You wouldn't let someone dump trash in your living room. Why do you let them dump their negativity, their chaos, their problems into your mental space? Machiavelli wrote that a wise prince should rely on what is in his own control, not on what is in the control of others. Your worth is in your control. Their opinion is not. The moment you stop needing the world to applaud you, you become dangerous. You can't be bribed with validation anymore. Most people are cheap. They can be bought with a compliment. They can be controlled with the promise of social approval. But the person who values themselves above the collective, who operates from strategic narcissism, that person is expensive. That person is rare. That person walks into a room and doesn't scan for who approves of them. They scan for who's useful to their mission. This is hard for people to accept because we've been conditioned from childhood to seek external validation. Your parents' approval, your teacher's grades, your peers' acceptance. The entire socialization process is designed to make you care desperately about what others think. And that conditioning serves the system perfectly. People who need approval are easy to control. But once you genuinely value yourself based on your own internal standards rather than external feedback, you become extremely difficult to manipulate. Someone tries to shame you, and you feel nothing because their opinion carries no weight in your self-assessment. Someone tries to flatter you, and you see through it immediately because you're not hungry for validation. Someone threatens to withdraw their approval, and you shrug because you never needed it in the first place. This is the practical application of strategic narcissism. It's not about thinking you're better than everyone. It's about operating from an internal locus of control rather than being jerked around by external judgments. You decide your worth based on your own metrics, your own progress, your own standards. Everyone else's opinion becomes background noise. Be the sun. Burn bright. Let others orbit you if they want, or let them fly off into the dark. But never ever dim your light to make someone else comfortable. Your job isn't to make weak people feel better about their weakness. Your job is to be so strong that others are inspired to build their own strength. This is how you feel nothing when people try to guilt you. This is how you maintain emotional detachment from social pressure. This is mental strength in its most practical application. You know your worth. You know your mission. Everything else is noise. Machiavelli taught that you must keep your intentions dark. He wrote that he who wishes to deceive will never fail in finding willing victims. The greatest mistake you make, over and over, is broadcasting your next move. You get excited about an idea. That excitement feels good. So you tell someone. You tell your friend about your business plan. You tell your family about your goal. You tell your coworker about your strategy. And in that moment, you killed it. Why? 2 reasons. First, your brain mistakes talking about doing something with actually doing it. You get the dopamine hit, the chemical reward, just from speaking about it. Your motivation evaporates because you already got paid. Second, and more dangerous, you gave them a map to stop you. Once people know what you want, they know how to hurt you. They know how to block you. They know how to manipulate you. Even people who claim to support you will unconsciously undermine you because your success threatens their comfort. You must become fog. Be vague. Be ambiguous. When someone asks what you're working on, you say something generic like, a few projects, and change the subject. When they ask if you're upset, you say, just thinking, with a neutral expression. Let them project their own fears onto your silence. Here's what happens. In the absence of information, the human mind fills in blanks with assumptions. Usually those assumptions lean negative and powerful. They think you're planning something significant. They think you know something they don't. They think you're judging them. Good. Let them spin. Let them wonder. Their uncertainty works in your favor. This is dark psychology tactics at their most elegant. You're not doing anything to them. You're simply refusing to give them the comfort of information. That refusal creates psychological pressure. In negotiation, this is devastating. State your terms, then stop talking. The silence becomes heavy. It presses on them. They start to squirm. Often they'll start negotiating against themselves, offering you more just to break the tension. Machiavelli advised us to be foxes. The fox stalks prey without making a sound, without snapping a single twig. Stop announcing your plans on social media. Stop posting about your grind. Work in the darkness. Let your results be the only noise you make. Thunder comes after lightning strikes. Be the lightning. This requires discipline. You'll want to share. You'll want validation. You'll want people to know you're working on something important. Resist. That desire for premature recognition is your enemy. It's your ego demanding payment before you've earned anything. The person with real power moves in silence. They build in private. They execute without announcement. Then one day they simply appear with results that seem to come from nowhere. That's not luck. That's strategic silence. That's predatory patience. I won't lie to you about what this path costs. If you genuinely apply these principles, if you kill hope, excise pity, and develop true emotional detachment, you will become lonely. At least that's what people on the outside will call it. But there's a massive difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the power of being alone. Sheep are never lonely. They're huddled together in a nervous cluster, warm and safe, and utterly mediocre. The eagle flies alone. Machiavelli did his greatest work in exile. Alone in his study, banned from the political world he loved, He conversed with ancient texts and created something that outlived everyone who rejected him. Your solitude will likely be less dramatic, but the principle holds. As you develop mental strength and emotional control, you'll lose tolerance for certain things. You'll lose tolerance for gossip. You'll lose tolerance for complainers who never change. You'll lose tolerance for people who mistake drama for depth. One day you'll look around and realize your circle has shrunk dramatically. Don't panic when this happens. This is the shedding of dead weight. You're not losing friends. You're losing anchors that were holding you underwater. You're trading quantity for quality, noise for signal. In the silence of your solitude, you'll hear something you probably haven't heard in years. Your own voice, your actual ambition, not the ambition others projected onto you. Your real desires, not the desires you were supposed to have. Your true power. The crowd drowns you out with their constant demands and judgments. Solitude amplifies your signal. Don't fear the empty room. The throne is a single seat, not a bench. If you want to rule your own life, you must get comfortable sitting alone in the throne room. This is perhaps the hardest part of learning how to be emotionless. Not the emotional detachment itself, but the social isolation that comes from operating at a different level than people around you. They'll sense you've changed. They'll sense you're not playing the same game anymore. Some will resent you for it. Let them. Your job isn't to bring everyone with you. Your job is to climb as high as your capability allows. If others want to climb with you, they're welcome. But you will not slow down. You will not compromise your ascent to make others comfortable with their stagnation. Embrace the cold. Cold preserves. Heat rots. The herd stays warm by clustering together, but that warmth is the warmth of decay. You stand alone in the cold, and that cold keeps you sharp, clear, and eternal. When you truly achieve the zero state, when you genuinely feel nothing in response to external chaos, what's left? Are you just an empty shell, a robot executing functions without meaning? No. What's left is freedom. What's left is the ability to love your fate. But with a Machiavellian twist. You're not loving a fate that happened to you. You're loving the fate you deliberately created through strategic thinking and ruthless execution. When you're emotional, you're a victim asking why things happen to you. When you're strategic, you're an architect noting that things happened and calculating how to use them. You stop judging events as good or bad. Those are words for children. There's only useful or useless. You lost the money. Useful, because now you have hunger to rebuild smarter. She left you. Useful, because now you have freedom to focus entirely on your mission. You failed at something. Useful, because you just eliminated a method that doesn't work. This is ultimate immunity. This is becoming anti-fragile. The more chaos hits you, the stronger you become. You look at the world's disasters, the economic crashes, the betrayals, the violence, and you don't feel anxiety. You feel something darker and more powerful. Excitement. Because you recognize that chaos is a ladder. While everyone else is panicking and looking down, you're climbing. You feel nothing for the tragedy. You feel everything for the opportunity. This is what it means to win everything. Not just accumulating money or status. Those are byproducts. What you're really winning is unshakable internal certainty that you can handle absolutely anything. You have the operating system that runs while others crash. You have the mental strength that holds while others break. While they play checkers with their emotions, making reactive moves, you're playing chess with pure strategy. And in chess, the king never panics. The king stands in the center of his board, surrounded by chaos, perfectly still. That's you now. That's what emotional mastery actually looks like in practice. Look at who you were when you started reading this. You were probably a bundle of nervous reactions, a biological machine responding to stimuli, a victim of your own outdated programming. And who are you now? You're the observer. You're the fox when you need cunning. You're the lion when you need force. You have tools to cut the puppet strings that controlled you. Imagine walking into tomorrow with this new operating system fully installed. Someone insults you. The old you would have felt hurt, would have reacted, would have lost. The new you feels nothing, smiles, analyzes why they felt the need to attack, wins. A crisis hits. The old you would have panicked, would have made fearful decisions, would have flailed. The new you feels nothing, calculates options, executes the optimal path, wins. Fear whispers its ancient lies. The old you would have frozen or run. The new you hears nothing, steps forward into exactly what you fear, wins. This is the superpower I've handed you. This is forbidden knowledge, because if everyone had it, the entire structure of society would collapse. Society runs on your fear. They sell you insurance by making you afraid. They sell you status symbols by making you insecure. They keep you working jobs you hate by making you afraid of uncertainty. But you've stepped out of that line. You chose the cold over the comfortable lie. And in that cold, you found the real fire. The will to power. The capacity to look at reality without flinching. The mental strength to act when others freeze. But I need you to ask yourself one final question before you close this and return to your life. Can you actually do this? Or are you addicted to your own suffering? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Many people love their pain. They love the drama. They love playing victim because victimhood gives them an excuse to stay average. To be emotional gives you permission to fail and blame circumstances. But to feel nothing, to develop genuine emotional control, means you have no excuses left. If you can see clearly, if you can act strategically, if you're not being jerked around by your feelings, then you have no reason not to be great. And for most people, that's the most terrifying possibility of all. Think about what I'm really asking you to give up. Not just negative emotions, but the comfort of victimhood, the safety of blaming circumstances, the warm, familiar pain of feeling like the world is against you. These things hurt, yes, but they're also strangely comfortable. They let you off the hook. They give you permission to stay small. Emotional mastery removes that permission. Once you control your emotions rather than being controlled by them, once you can look at any situation with cold clarity and strategic thinking, you lose the ability to tell yourself comforting lies. You can't claim you're stuck because you're afraid. Fear becomes just data. You can't claim you can't leave because of how you feel. Feelings become just weather. You're left with pure agency, pure responsibility, pure power. And that level of self-ownership terrifies most people more than any external threat ever could. Are you ready to lose your excuses? Or will you go back to sleep, back to comfort, back to the warm mediocrity of the herd? The choice is yours, and yours alone. But remember this, the world doesn't wait for sleepers. It eats them. While you're comfortable and emotional and hoping things get better, someone colder and clearer is taking what could have been yours. 500 years ago, Niccolò Machiavelli saw the world as it actually is. He wrote the manual. Most people are too afraid to read it honestly. You weren't. You made it here. The question is what you do next. The real work doesn't happen in the reading. It happens tomorrow when you face your first test and have to choose between feeling and winning. Choose wisely. Choose coldly. Choose power. The zero state is waiting.